Showtime.
Hello,
Hello.
everyone. There we are. My name is Gil,
And I'm Robin.
and we are here rocking the love. We are here on a Wednesday, as usual, about noon o'clock Pacific time, and many other times around the world. So we want to thank right off the bat our pinch hit producer today, Laura, coming all the way from the UK just to produce our show. My goodness, that's incredible.
She's amazing, right? She does a show, she meditates, she does another show, and then when you need her, there she is. She is definitely award-winning Laura Topper.
And thank God we don't have to actually pay her because whew, she'd be expensive.
She'd be really expensive. So it's as Gil said, it's Wednesday, and we're here, and we're talking about awakening the garden this month.
Awakening the Garden. That's an interesting title, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Awakening the Garden. We just a little background in case you haven't seen any recent shows. We were thinking about this whole idea of how springtime comes and you go out to your garden and you have to get it ready and you have to get things in it that you want to see later in the year show up. And so we've sort of been talking about that for the last 3 weeks or so.
Sometimes it just wakes up on its own.
Well,
right?
Wake
You
up
go
on
out and there's little things poking out, the little flowers and fun things. So it can happen in a variety of ways. But before we get to that, if you're joining us, please hit the like button, sign in, let us know where you're from. We love to see where everybody's from and give you a shout out. And I'm not gonna lie, I have something in my tooth.
Uh-oh.
All of a sudden it went on my tooth. Anyway, but let's talk about our week.
Okay.
Awakening our week.
This
has been by far one of the most I don't know the word for it. I was going to say incredible weeks of my life because it went on for like 3 weeks.
That's true.
It didn't stop.
We keep saying the last week, but really it started about 2.5 weeks ago, something like that. And it's gone nonstop.
Do you ever have weeks like that or days like that or times like that where it all blends together? This was one of those. And I think we've told you little bits and pieces along the way because we keep showing up here as a time marker. But it went from our car breaking down and needing a repair that we later found out was going to be $40,000. Yes, $40,000. We were like, what? That's as much as the car cost. Yeah. Anyway, pay your insurance bills and be grateful. And then for the same week, we went on a little trip for Gil to have a job interview in New Mexico. We flew home, and
you missed the family vacation in there.
Oh yeah, we started with a family vacation. Then we came home, unpacked, packed, and left the next day for a trip. Then we
worked the whole time we were gone on that. We had we had a day there. We flew home on our anniversary.
We had our 20-year wedding anniversary, which you knew about. And then we had our son's wedding.
So a
which
couple
was
days
also
later,
another trip. So it's like it's and in between we were cat sitting for somebody. So which we're still doing. So it's like the time has just gone on with these monumental things like job interviews with possible moves and weddings, and it's just been crazy.
crazy,
I mean,
crazy.
this garden woke up and went, "Come on, bring it. Let's go." Right? So anyway,
So a lot of stuff about relationship though, in this time. You know, we've met a whole bunch of people. That's been cool. We went to a to my son's wedding, which was held at my former mother-in-law's home, and um, you know, it was a shift all the way around, and uh, we really did well. We really set. We actually made an intention. We decided what it was going to be like this time.
well, we decided what it was going to be like because we did the math. And to be totally honest, every time we have to be at a family event, when we show up, there's angst because there's old feelings and hurt feelings, and we never know what the feelings are going to be by whom about
What?
what, what, how life should have been or whatever. And so walking into a situation, as I said, Gil and I have been married for 20 years now. So it's 20 years old, this situation. But sometimes it feels like just yesterday. And as we were going, because we were taking deep breaths, because we love our family. We love our family. And we so want to be able to enjoy and have them enjoy us and really get to know each other on a deeper level, as opposed to just being under that shield of former divorce and hurt and pain and all of that. And I said to Gilly, I said, it's one thing to hope and know it's going to be different, but after 20 years, if we're still walking in there feeling like this, we've got some work to do. Damn, we must have something to do with the equation. Oh, um, and so we really had to be. I really had to be with it and go. Oh, okay, I gotta let this go, and I think that's what you did too on some level.
Yeah. The other piece for me was when you said, you know, we've got to treat this just like we're treating, um, in many ways, we're treating the job things that I'm doing, because I've made the distinct decision that I'm showing up as me, purely as me, and that's it. And what I haven't done with the family is been able to just be me and to know that that's okay and to trust it. And I think we both did that to a certain degree as well. We had this intention that it would be good, and we walked in knowing that we're okay. And that shifted the whole feeling for me. Because I think mostly I walk in feeling like I've done something wrong. People are looking at me. People don't like me, all those things, which is the way it goes. So why is that important today, you think, for our topic?
Well, because it's about, I mean, the whole thing with the garden period is about clearing out and setting intentions on some level for what you want to have, what you want to build, what you want to cut to bear fruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, today's title is Amend and Tend. And I think, when I think in terms of planting things and that stuff, we amend the soil, we put in fertilizer, we put in water, we tend
We
to
nurture
make
it.
sure it's good, we nurture it. And I think that to me is kind of the whole thing with this, is that we decided to put love into it to the best of our ability, and that and also to put love into ourselves as we walked into the situation. So we were holding ourselves in that, and that shifted things dramatically for us, and maybe for other people, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't know how much of it I was consciously holding like that, but I know that I did have a moment where I was like, "What can I do? This is it. This is it. This has been the last 20 years. I'm married to him. I'm sorry that it didn't work the way we all had hoped it would." And you know, yeah, and at the bottom of it all, there's so much love. There's pain too, but there's so much love, especially with kids and us, and just wanting it to be that space of love. So I think everything conspired for good, and we had a good time. And if they talked about us or had big feelings,
We
th-
just know that it'll
my
show
work
up.
was done.
It'll show up where it needs to, and we'll be able to address it. But we've shown up knowing that we were there in the love. And let me just say this. I just want to congratulate Colin and Jamie on their wedding, and we're so proud of you and all that's happened. And I want to say thank you to Jamie, who was very gracious to me, particularly right after the wedding, and really touched my heart. She walked up to me and said, "Hi, Dad." And that was just really a powerful affirmation of what can be. What can be. We can stand in that space of loving one another
Well,
and
it's also a recognition of family.
of family. Yeah.
Yep. All right. All right. So that's been our week. So it's been quite the emotional roller coaster. But here we are, ready to ride with you. So today we're talking about the garden and the mending and tending. So um you want to do that now or you want to take a break?
We could take a break and come back with amending and tending.
So grab something to drink, get ready, get your pens and pencils because we're gonna plant this garden so that it grows like a
Oh
Monet
no.
picture.
A Monet picture. Okay.
What?
I was expecting something else there for a minute. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll be right back on New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Radio, music from all your favorite New Thought artists. From Jamie Lula, Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, Ricky Byers, Daniel Namod, Eddie Watkins Jr., and many, many more. 24/7 New Thought Radio. Positively inspiring.
Right here.
Right here. Hi, everybody. You are with us today on Rockin' the Love.
I'm Robin.
And I'm Gil.
And we're here talking about planting the garden, reawakening the garden. So when Gil said, when we were talking about topics and he said, this is where you amend, I said, what does that mean?
And what I said was, it's about what we put in. It's about what we are, how we're holding the container for what we're creating. You know, we can plant the seed that of what we want. We can plant that in there. But how are we setting that up for success? How are we creating the space for that to work? And so then we talked a little bit about like what's one of the main spiritual principles around that, around how that works. And you said the same thing I said, which was yes.
Reciprocity.
Yeah, reciprocity. This whole idea that you know, what we put in, what we put out, that is what's going to come back around. That's what's coming back to us. And so if we're putting into our relationships, into our garden, if you will, the things that will support growth and support love and support something new, then that's what will begin to come forth. We'll begin to see strong, healthy growth happening with new sprouts and new things going on in our relationships. And if we do something different, we might see something different.
So in a relationship, in any relationship, you know, it could be a romantic relationship, it could be a work relationship. I think so how do we keep that going? Because it feels like, and maybe it's just me, but it feels like in the beginning of a relationship, we start to have, I mean, all the components are there. It's exciting, it's new, it's fresh. There's things to learn about each other. There's this, you know, exchange of information that keeps it new. So if we're going under this tending the garden concept, like how do you when do you start to add more things to keep it growing?
Well, I think you have to add to it all the time, right? I mean, in our relationship of 20 years, 20 plus years, we have we've gone through ups and downs and things that worked and things that didn't, and times when we felt really connected and times when we didn't. But somewhere in there, we have to keep putting in the intention that this is important, that this is something that I'm willing to invest in. I'm willing to put time and effort in. I need to keep putting the love into it, even when I don't feel like it, even when I don't feel the love coming back, that I keep putting that into it, knowing that that is what's going to surround and nurture what's there. Because I can't, as one part of this relationship, not do my part. Because if I don't, then things will fall apart, because it doesn't work. And so when we're amending, we are putting in our effort, we're putting in our love, we're putting in our intention, we're putting in our willingness to do our practice, whatever that is, to do our part of keeping ourselves whole and complete in the process. How am I keeping myself knowing that love is what's really happening in the world? Well, I have to stay somewhere around the things that I'm reading, the things that I'm holding in my heart, how I'm taking time out to be in nature, to pray, to do those things. Those things all support me in knowing that truly love is what's happening. And if I'm not doing that, then I can't be putting that same love into my relationships. I have to keep all of those things nurtured in order to tend to the various relationships in my life, particularly this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, because I'm thinking about, is that true? I mean, I'm questioning ourselves.
It's a good question.
Is that the truth? And one of the things that comes up for me is, um, when Gil and I used to do a lot of weddings, and we'd work with couples, and we'd give them some uh, uh, questions to answer, and a lot of the questions had to do with, how well they really knew each other, because there's things that we don't know about each other sometimes until we get married or into the marriage or whatever. And I'm thinking, if so, I mean, yes, it's my job on some level, to find out about, what your tendency is, how you spend money, or um, what kind of discipline you were raised with in your household, or those kind of things. But a lot of times we don't ask those questions. We just learn as we go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, but what I'm saying is, like, is it my, I mean, and yes, and is it my job to keep nurturing the situation, and or is it my job to keep nurturing myself and to be with what I need to know?
Okay. Good question. Do you have a thought about what the answer is to
No,
that?
go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is we have to nurture ourselves. That's the only way we can nurture anything else. We have to stay in touch with that. I can't love you if I'm frustrated and upset with myself. It doesn't happen. I can't nurture another relationship if I can't hold it together with me. And so sometimes that can look like I'm pulling away from you because I need to take some time to do something, or you're pulling away from me. And the reality is what we're doing is trying to regroup ourselves so that we can come in with all that we want to come in with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
if you knew then what you know now,
yeah.
would we be here?
Well, but you can't really answer that question, because if I knew then what I know now, then all the in between would have been different.
That's true. That's true.
So, it's not, I mean, I know that was supposed to be semi funny, but I can't even think of it like that, because I feel like it takes two, right? I mean, it's always going to be the balance of where one person is at when one person is at another place.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when you said a really interesting thing about the space in between, because it's kind of this idea that, with the garden and awakening the garden, and that is that every so often we have to go in and kind of clear out the stuff that's dead and not necessary and not needed, and we have to really look at what do we want, and then we have to start putting into it the things that will help bring out what we want. And that's where we are now in this. But that happens on a, in your garden, it happens on maybe a yearly basis, but it happens in our relationship on an ongoing basis, where we have to go in and trim out some of the stuff that, doesn't really work anymore or we don't need. And also then get ready and figure out what we want, what works for us, and determine if we can put in the right things to get that out of it. And,
I don't know, Laura, what do you think? You're in a long-term relationship. What do you think? I know, but seriously, because, then I think about setting intentions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think the average person sets intentions all the time.
Yeah.
And then I think that the the people that are doing spiritual work and studying and learning all the time, they set intentions too, but they set them in a different way. Not neither one are necessarily good or bad, but I mean, I know our thoughts are things, and so we set intentions all the time. But you know, those those of us in spiritual studies may like breathe and meditate and go in and set intentions and you know release them into the universe and know that they're done. And it feels interesting to like like really program that into a relationship. Does that make sense?
Somewhat. Can you say more?
No, I'm waiting for Laura to type something brilliant.
Or come on the screen and join us since she's in the producer role today.
No, that's not fair.
That's not fair. Okay, we can't do that.
She can if she wants, but she's not camera ready. You don't do that to a woman.
How do you know she's not camera ready?
I know what she thinks. I may think she's camera ready, but I just know. I mean, I'm just in terms of relationship. There we go. So yeah. So anyway, I just think it's fascinating, and I think like I don't know. I think in terms of tending the garden, I think there's really there's just a lot. There's a lot to the questions we don't know the answers to, and the setting the intentions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like if I set my intention, oh, Gil and I are going to have a most wonderful romantic relationship. Like how does that, I don't know. How tell me how that works.
How that works? Well, I think to me, setting that intention means that I'm going to then think about how do I do that? What do I need to do in order to see that happen? What do I have to put into the relationship in order for it to be romantic and wonderful? What are the things I need to add in? I need to add in time to spend together. I need to add in a surprise here and there. I need to add in a quiet night at home. I need, whatever it is, we got to add it into the thing in order for that intention to come forth. If I say, I want to have the most romantic time with you, which I've been guilty of, and then I can't think of anything romantic and I don't put my effort into creating a romantic situation at all or anything that feels romantic or loving to you in the relationship, then I don't get anywhere.
So you're saying when one sets an intention, then that they should be setting an intention together.
No, I'm saying that if I'm setting the intention, I need to figure out what my part is in it in order for it to come forth. Because I tend to set an intent, I can be part of the intention, but if I'm not placing into the system what needs to be there in order for that intention to come forth, when we vision, we do a process called visioning, and we listen for what Spirit's saying is coming up or needs or is happening next, etc. But one of the key things we ask is, what do I need to embrace for this vision to come forth? And I think that's kind of what I'm talking about here. What do we need to embrace in order for the garden that we're planting to come forth? What do I need to embrace in my life? I mean, I can point out to you where where you're failing to put in for different things. And I'm thinking you can do the same for me. Relatively easy, right? But that's not going to help anything. What I have to do is figure out, where am I failing to do it? So when I get frustrated about some way that you're doing something like I did last night, and I don't go back to, all right, so what do I need to be, do I need to put more water on this? Do I need to get some more manure? What do I need to put into this that I can put into this so that my intention of having a different outcome is possible?
See, so it's interesting that you say it that way, because what I think is, when you get frustrated, or anyone gets frustrated and brings up a situation like that, what did you say? You look out, then you're able to, I don't know if that's the part I didn't.
Okay. I'm not sure. I mean, I have to.
So to me, forget it. To me, it's a marker for myself. So if I see myself getting upset with you and telling you what you should be doing and why don't you do it this way, I go, okay, what's going on for me?
Right.
You don't do that though.
I do eventually.
Yeah, but not in the moment.
No, not in the moment. That's not easy for me in the moment because I'm very frustrated.
So, I mean, that's an interesting question. So it's like, how do you move away from that? Because, I mean, for me, I just go to, okay, at the end of the day, I'm the only one here. So I may as well just work this out, and try not to get mad or whatever. Try not to explode and, and fight to be right.
Yeah. But the reality is that I'm not going to get what I want if I don't figure out what I need to put into the situation in order for that to come forth. Does that make sense? I mean, because the only thing I can really control is what I'm putting into it, how I'm amending that soil, how I am putting things into it. And it may or may not come forth in the way I think it should, or it may look different, or it may come up a little bit short, but I have to be able to point to what I have to be able to have put myself in. I have to be able to put whatever I needed in there, so that I can know and not have to be mad at you or at whoever else in the relationship is for whatever they haven't done, because they can only do what they can do. Right. They can only tend to their garden the way they tend to it, but I can change how I tend to mine. I can adjust, I can add, I can delete certain things. I can fix it, if you will. It's a little overstated, right, fixing it, but
so I think so. What I would like to do is to make this really practical.
Okay.
So I think that's what we'll do somehow after we come back from another break.
Going to make it practical.
Make it practical. I don't want to just talk about, set an intention. What's my intention? And then you do that. I mean, like, how do we? So there's got to be a place. It's almost like what I'm feeling is like a trigger. There's a place where you realize, okay, I'm going into a zone where I need to set an intention, or where I need to remember my intention, or where I need to figure out, is this serving my intention? If my intention is to have a day of peace, and I, kick the cat when it jumps up on me, am I having a day of peace? You know what I mean? Or whatever. I yell at the kids, or whatever triggers you. So like, how do we take, it's easy to say, yeah, I want to have a great job, and I want to make a lot of money, and I want to live comfortably, and I, want to be a rock star. Great. How do I get to that place where I'm really looking to see in every moment, does this serve my mission? Does this serve our purpose if it's a relationship thing? Like, how do we do that? I'm going to let him work on the answer, And we'll be right back on New Thought Media Network.
Uh,
Hello, we're back. I'm
Yeah.
Robin.
and we're still discussing over here. Are we back already? Oh my gosh. I'm Gil, by the way.
And
this
we're
is-
rocking the love
You know it all day long. Well,
with
no.
our pitch hitting producer, the fabulous Laura Topper. So, what we were talking about before was how do we make intention setting practical? How do we make
How do we make this idea of putting in what we need into our garden so that we grow the relationships we want? How do we make that practical? And so what came to me when Robin was speaking before is this idea of well, you know, when a situation shows up and it sucks, which it does from time to time, we're in a place, it's frustrating, we're not happy, we're not communicating, or whatever. The tendency is to think, oh, this doesn't work. And I'm pissed and I'm done. But here's, I think, the practical part about that, and that is, you know, if we realize that what's showing up in front of us right now is a reflection of who we've been, not who we are necessarily in this moment. It's a reflection of all that's come before. And so in order to shift that, it gives me a picture of what I need to do, what's possible for me to do to shift it so that it changes in the future. So practical. When situations come up and I get frustrated, I may not in the moment be able to take a time out or whatever I need to do to figure it out. But I can certainly reflect on it and look at it and go, oh, this is an opportunity for me to shift what I'm putting into the garden, because I'm not putting enough attention on being clear. I'm not putting enough attention on really being loving. I'm not putting enough attention on whatever it is. And that's what I need to do. So my thought is that when we're thinking about amending and tending to this garden, when things come up that don't work, rather than dwelling on them as an issue, and we have this issue in our relationship and this doesn't work, is to go back and go, well, what does that indicate? What is it that I could remove, and what is it I could add in order to shift this situation in the future? Because my intention is to have a peaceful day today. And if it's not perfectly peaceful, then that just tells me that I haven't figured out how to nurture that intention in my life yet. So that's where the practical thing is. Rather than seeing it as a failure, it's a roadmap. It gives me a sign for how I can actually get to my intention. What do you think?
So what I think that what I notice more and more each day in New Thought and in my studies and my personal growth is that it's really, really, I become more of the witness in my own life. I become, I sometimes I feel like I'm cheating and I'm not really in the moment because I'm witnessing the moment, but I am in the moment. It's like learning, it's like multitasking on some level, but it's really all one. If you're new to New Thought and this is your first experience of it, I'm sorry.
Or if you're a man and multitasking makes no sense to you. Oh, that may make sense to some, but not to me.
Anyway, but what I notice is, you know, I'm fully aware in my body and in my mind and all of it when something starts to go wrong. When it's not feeling as loving, as joyous, as whatever as I would like it to feel. And I feel like for me, so I was thinking about what you were saying, and I was thinking, so the question for me becomes, uh, are you ready? Am I ready? Am I ready to experience that full out love that I want, that full out peace that I'm claiming, that full out, whatever it is, joy experience? And if I mean, am I ready? Can I possibly be ready if it's not happening? I can't be. And so it leads me to start to think like, what is going on? I mean, anybody in a relationship, I'm gonna stereotype. If I'm wrong and somebody can prove it, to let me know. But I think that, we all have had those times where come to me fully loving and ready to say something or do something, and I'm like, not as nice as I could be, I'm
You
like,
mean you're mean?
I mean, yeah, I mean, not necessarily mean, but
No, I know what you
not,
mean.
you know what I mean?
You're not
I
ready
mean,
for
yeah,
it
it could be
somehow. It just
perceived as mean or bitchy or whatever, but in those times, I mean, there are times when I totally hear myself and I'm like, what the heck's going on? What are you doing? What's wrong? It's like all of my body conspires and goes, what's happening? What's really going on? It's like little scanners are going to see who I'm really upset with and what is happening. And it's like, I think this happens a lot,
it
for
does.
people. Not
No, it does. I mean, it
okay.
does because I think we often come to each other at a different place, and that's what I mean by it happens a lot. I think somebody comes in with a really positive thought, intention, whatever, and the other person is pissed off about some email they just got, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And so how do we how does the person maintain that loving space who's walked into it? Do I have the nutrients in my garden to be able to handle that? Can I hold that space even when, for instance, you're not holding that space because you can't, or the other way around?
Well, and yes, I think that we can. I know for Gil and I, it's like all the when I make him watch the home network, the what do you call it, like the selling
HGTV.
HGTV, and like all those couples like Chip and Joanna and whoever, they're always so fun and funny, and they have a little problem and they laugh and I'm like, and I'm like, that's how I want you to be. I'm sure that's how he wants me to be too. But I mean, it's that we see that because it's like somehow I, all in like 1 second there was like this I don't know if it was forgiveness or if it was just like this understanding that it's so much more than that moment, and it's like how do we live in the so much more than that moment, you
Mm.
know?
I think you've hit on something really big, because how we're not the tending the garden is not necessarily an instant result. You know, it's about the long haul at some level, right? We're constantly putting in, and we are knowing that while we're supporting it, it's doing its thing, and it's growing, and it's becoming, and it's doing all that. And that's the truth of our relationship. And if if a little weed shows up, it doesn't mean that it's for naught. You know, it's just a little weed. We pull it out, we move on. And um and I see this everywhere. I mean, I see this in a relationship, I see this in how I treat things that I'm working on, whatever it is. If I let the little thing that if I let anything that appears to not be working right, or I don't think is right, if I allow myself to focus on that, then it becomes monumental, instead of being just a noticing, oh, that didn't work, that was not really the best idea, let's move that on, let's take another tact on this. And that's
So
my thought.
it goes back to, are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready? I mean, are we ready to truly live in the moment and surrender to all things are working together for our good? God's got it. We're on purpose. We're on a mission. You know, can we really just go, okay, you know, and breathe into that and not get stuck in, but I wanted it to look this way, or it should have been this way, or how could it have been different? I don't know. And yet the how could it be different and things like that are valuable in the journey, you know, but it's still not. I guess the trick is, in the how could it be different, it's not getting stuck in how it could have been different and why wasn't it and why didn't I do it that way. It's going, got it. Next time I'll be able to go to that sooner. I'll be able to move to that. I'll be able to see how that can serve the relationship. And like I said, you know, last week we told you all that we did that one of those clearing exercises. That was super helpful. And even though we didn't do that last night, we had a little tiff. Even though we didn't do that, we still moved in a different way around that.
Laura.
Yes, where's the workshop? That's a great question, Laura. Actually, we're working on a couple of workshops and a couple of things that we're going to be presenting to y'all soon. And yeah, we're excited about that. So hang in there a little while longer, and
I'd say you'll probably have a real announcement in the next month or so of what our first thing is that we're going to do, because we're excited about it. We're really excited about it, you know. And this show's working the crud out of us, because it's not easy, and you know, it's I hate it when I hit that spot where I am so mad I don't want to do anything. And
I hate it too.
Yeah, she hates it too. But we can do it, you know, I can do it. And it's not so much how much we have to do, it's about embracing what is, embracing the beauty of what's already here. Right?
Well, and it's about embracing that this is where we are. Not that it should have been done 5 years ago, not that it could be this, not that it won't be that this is where we are and this is what's being called for. And I would say that in all of the relationships out there. Breathe and acknowledge your relationship, whatever it is, whether it's your relationship with a person or whether it's your relationship with money or your health or any of that. Breathe and acknowledge where you are and be grateful. Be grateful, because it's allowed you to hear this message. It's allowed you to think about maybe making a new choice. But until we can acknowledge where we are and we're not fighting the past, we can't move into the future.
Yeah, as long as we're fighting the past, as long as we're looking back, as long as we're trying to evaluate ourselves based on what's happened. And I think that's part of what I was getting at, is what's in front of us is a reflection of who we've been, not who we are. So when stuff shows up, it doesn't mean that's who we are and that's just the way it is. It just means whatever some of the stuff that's been become before has set this up in some way. And now I get to make different choices.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity.
It is a great opportunity. So we are running out of time, but we're so excited that you could be here with us today. We're going to go work on our workshop now. And we just encourage you, if you are so inclined, so moved, please visit us on the New Thought Media Network page. And there's a donate button there. We appreciate and love, love, love your support. And it just helps us do great things in the world, like going to Geneva and being part of the Geneva conference. And just so many things are happening. And, you know, we want you to rock the love, and the world needs more love. And that's what that money helps us do. So please join us there. Also, check out all the other shows on New Thought Media Network. You will see Laura Topper's show and shows and lots of other great things. Your Doula for Grief. And, you know, that they come to us from all over the world. Laura is in the UK. Bonnie is in Mexico. And
Your
it's
Morning Sip is on the East Coast.
Morning Sip on the East Coast.
We're on the West Coast.
You know, it's just, it is that microcosm of imagine all the people living life as one. So we're so happy that you chose us today and that we're your one. So get out there and rock the love.
Rock the love, everybody.
We'll see you next week. Thank you, Laura.
Bye, everyone.